Good morning, students. This is a computer class. We had read up to here in the last class in page number 13. Okay, so we'll be starting with a new chapter new topic today, which is working of a computer, which can be explained by IPO cycle. What is IPO cycle? We'll learn about that today. Okay. Let us learn how a computer works with the help of the following activity. Okay, there's an activity given in this box. Okay, in the first picture you can see a flowering plant. In the flowering plant there's a rose plant. Okay, the rose plant takes in water. Okay, if you give water to the rose plant, it takes in water. Okay, in the next picture you can see the rose plant grows gradually. The rose plant is gradually growing. And in the last picture, you can see the rose plant gives flowers, and ultimately the rose plant grows and gives flowers. So, how this activity can explain the working of a computer, we will learn about it in the next page. Here, the rose plant takes in water, grows gradually, and gives flowers. Okay. Similarly, a computer takes in the instruction you give. Okay. Like the rose plant is taking in the water that you are giving, the computer takes in the instruction that you give. The instruction that you give to the computer is called input. Okay. In the next step, water and sunlight through a process help the plant to grow. Okay. Similarly, the work done by the computer is called processing. When you give input to the computer does a work. Okay. It is called processing. Now the third step, the plant gives flowers. In a computer, the result obtained is called the output. Okay, after you give a input to the computer, it processes the raw data that you give to the computer, and ultimately it gives you a result which is called as output. Okay, so now you can understand what this activity explains as related to the work of a computer. And what does IPO mean? IPO stands for I stands for input, P stands for processing, and O stands for output. IPO cycle. Okay. Similarly, all machines generally follow three steps: input, processing, output. Okay. A computer is a machine. A computer is also a machine. So it also follows these three steps: input, processing, and output. There's an activity given over here. Okay. Where I for input, where you have to write I for input, P for processing, O for output in the pictures given below. You have to first observe the pictures that are given. The first one is making of juice. Okay, so in order to make a juice, you have to first give an input. Okay, then there's a processing, and finally there's an output in the form of juice. Okay, so you can see here in the first picture, a juicer or a mixer is grinding something. Okay, in the next picture you can see a glass full of juice, and in the third picture you can see a mixer is being plugged in. Okay, so if you observe this pictures carefully, you will notice that this is the third picture is input. Okay, you are plugging in the mixer and you are going to start to grind a fruit in this mixture. So you'll write I over here. Okay, now between these two pictures you can see that the first picture is performing some task. Okay, it's processing, it's grinding the fruits that has been put inside the mixture, so it's doing some work. So this will be P, which stands for processing. Okay, now finally you get the result as a glass full of juice. Okay, which is O, which is output. Okay, similarly you are going to mark I, O or P as according to the picture given in this row. Okay, which is making of cert. You have to identify the process of input, output and processing. Okay, so you are going to do this activity on your book itself. Okay, for example, when you add two numbers, say 2 and 5 on the computer, the following three steps happen. Okay, so here's another example of how a machine or a computer works. You are adding two numbers on the computer, which is 2 and 5. Okay, so what are the steps that happen? Type 2 plus 5 using the keyboard. This is input. When you type 2 plus 5, okay, on the keyboard, that will be the input. The addition of two numbers is done inside the CPU box of the computer. Okay, this is processing. And the third step, the result 7 is displayed on the monitor. On the monitor or the screen of the computer, you will get the result 7. Okay, so that is the output. Okay, thus the computer accepts the data that you put in, okay, processes it and gives a meaningful result. The process of input, processing and output of data is called IPO cycle. As I had told you earlier, I stands for input, P stands for process and O stands for output. Okay, thank you. That's all for today.